So in short, go for the EDC37 if you want instant access to strobe, spot, lumen-shield, that 8000 lumen mode. Perfect for tactical or self-defense use. But if you want RGB, throw, flood, swappable batteries, the SK05 Pro is the better all-rounder. Just expect a trickier UI. So I saw a video recently from Nitecore Singapore comparing the Nitecore EDC37 to the Loop SK05 Pro, and I thought I'd give my honest take on this comparison. Now, both companies provide me free samples for reviews, and apart from some small commissions, I don't benefit from favoring one or the other. Just thought I'd make this video to help you decide if you're wondering which is kind of best for your circumstances. So the EDC37 is basically, as you can see, it's a little bit smaller than the SK05 Pro, and there's a little switch here on the side that allows you to like lock, as you can see, or unlock it. Okay. And basically there's a couple of switches. The higher switch here, you click on and then you cycle through like a bunch of different modes, 1,500 lumens there. This lower switch you can program, but basically I've got it in half press for 3,000 lumens and full press for the 8,000 lumen shield mode. So it's really easy to access those high modes, those super high modes in there. You can also program one of those modes to strobe. I just don't use that really that much. You see here under the head is a really interesting array of LEDs. So you've got multiple dye surfaces on each MC PCB. So yeah, that's something I've never seen on other lights as well. 8,000 milliamp hour cell. With the SK05 Pro, you have got basically, and this is the new micro arc oxidation version, which is going to be coming out soon in July, but I just have it on this video anyhow. Basically, you've got a couple of different bezels here. You've got a 3 LEDs for the floodlight and then a single SFT25R for the spotlight. And you use this rotating dial to select. So at the moment, I can go to maybe just put it into the lowest mode. Where is it? Here, got to press and hold. Yep, for the flood mode, then you can switch it on to the throw mode here. Okay, long range throw mode. Plus, you get this awesome RGB light here on the side. Now, truth be told, I don't really use this that much, okay? And there's different flashy modes. There is one in here that I do use. Where is it? If I got to find it, that's it. Oh, missed it. But basically, it's a this just changes colors, whichever you want. You can change the brightness, but you can also just go to that flood mode, that flood side mode. Where is it? Yeah, that's it here. So it's kind of like a really like dim mode that you can use up close to read at night, that kind of thing. It consumes very little power. So I think that's really quite useful. Another thing is you have replaceable batteries. So let me just open this one up on the SK05 Pro. Oops, you got to unlock it first there. Okay, that's something you cannot do with the Nitecore EDC37, but they both have pretty much the same capacity, 8,000 milliamp hour capacity. So that's a quick little demo. Now I want to also cover this in a little bit more detail, and I just go through my thoughts, I guess, on the overall construction, lens, LED, bezel, and reflector. So both of them have a pretty premium construction. Okay, if we look up close, and the EDC37 has more of this tactical styling to it, as you can see, and you've got more of this all-rounder, but it does look like quite a cyberpunk style design, something that looks very unique as well. Okay, kind of like sci-fi, but yeah, in terms of the tactical styling, it's more the functionality of it as well. So it's meant to be held like this. You access the switches here on the back. Okay, you've got these glass breaking beads here on the front. So there's no nonsense, kind of, what's going to happen when you press any of these buttons. Even the lock is just really easy to lock and unlock. Okay, whereas this one, obviously you're holding it more sort of on the side like this, rotating the dial. And yeah, I think the SK05 Pro is perfect if you want these RGB features, separation of flood and throw, more control over the different modes as well in flood and throw. Swappable batteries, like I showed you before. The SK05 Pro has a pretty cool design as well. Love these cutouts and the uniqueness of the design, okay, but it's more of like a side switch flashlight, so it's like all-rounder use, okay. If you want to access turbo, you really have to be in, make sure you're not in that lock mode there, you're in any other mode, and then you press and hold to access it. It still takes a second or so to activate, so it's not really as quick as the EDC37 if you need that really bright beam all at once kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, another thing you have with the SK05 is that there's a few different versions. So this is the base model, the SK05 helm, so it's like the non-pro version, and basically it's not as bright, and you can't change, sort of hot swap the batteries. You can still get into the batteries and swap them out if you want, but with these pro versions, the SK05 Pro, you can press that latch and actually take the batteries out. You can even run all these lights on a single battery in an emergency. And you can see as well, there's a bunch of different finishes. So for those of you who, don't like a particular color option, you can choose between these three. Whereas with the EDC37, you've just got this model here. The second difference is the EDC37. You can see here, it's smaller, it's better for EDC. If you ask me, if you're carrying, either of these around, you can definitely feel the difference. It's not a huge kind of difference, but I do find the bezel, the bezel width here, it's just a little more uncomfortable to carry around in your pocket. Though, yeah, personally, I think the EDC29 is actually easier to carry around, much more easier to carry around. I do carry this around sometimes, but yeah, I think with that 8,000 milliamp battery, you have a larger advantage there if you need to run this light for a long period of time. In terms of the EDC37, you've got this dual stage switch here, the lower one, so half press and then full press. You can get two different modes. So yeah, I've programmed that to 3,000 and 8,000 lumens. And I like that you've got this additional switch there that you can quite easily access all the different modes. There's an LED display also that tells you how much time you have remaining on each mode, tells you what mode you're in, tells you the battery percentage as well. So it's very user-friendly. You can just take a glance at the light and know exactly where you're standing. And I really like that the locking switch is more secure as well than the SK05 Pro. Just something about that rotating bezel, rotating switch design here. I find that sometimes, flicks around in my pocket depending on how I'm carrying it. The new version of the SK05 Pro actually automatically locks after about a minute. Like I was showing you before with the SK05 Pro, you've got this rotary dial. Okay, and there's 4 pivot points. You've got the lock, you've got flood, you've got throw, and you've got RGB here, in case you need to make sure that you're in the correct mode before you press that button there on the front in order to activate it. That side switch here that's in the middle of the rotating dial takes a little bit of getting used to, okay, but it's not something that you can quickly just figure out. Basically with the SK05 Pro on the flood or the throw mode, you just press once to turn on. Okay, there's no moonlight mode, so even if you press and hold, it actually, that brings you to a turbo flood plus throw mode, so the highest output mode, I believe that's over 4,000 lumens, okay. But yeah, basically you switch on, it goes into memory mode. There's a low, medium, and high. Just press down the side switch. And if you double press, you get into the turbo mode. So it's pretty much the same deal with the, with the other throw mode, same kind of UI. And yeah, I did demo this a little bit earlier, but yeah, as you can see, you can access this kind of floodlight here on the side. It's like a warm floodlight. Plus, you got these RGB modes on the side. I like using the red mode at night. Just provides just enough light to see up close if you're reading, or yeah, if you're just walking around the middle of the night. There's also some of these emergency modes and fadey color modes. These ones I really don't use that much. I think there is a, there we go. We've got like a police or like a, what do you call it? I guess it can attract attention in an emergency. See if I can access others. Yep. So there's a few other modes in here. Like I said, I don't really use them that much, but for some people, you'll either love it or you'll hate it, because these RGB modes, for some people, they can be a bit gimmicky. Personally, though, I think there are a couple of them in there, well, 3 of them, the emergency flashy mode, the general the general floodlight mode here on the side, like the really dim floodlight, and also the red mode, the kind of colored red mode, is actually really useful to use at nighttime and consumes very little power. Whereas you don't have that option in the EDC37. Like the slowest mode here is 15 lumens, as you can see, and yeah, just one color essentially. The Nitecore EDC37 has non-replaceable batteries, so depending on your usage, it's fair to say that you'll get at least a few good years use out of it if you're using it pretty much every day. So it's kind of, yeah, if you think about a mobile phone, that kind of thing, you know, it's going to last you at least a few years. But if you're only charging it up, you know, once every now and then, that's me, so it's going to last you a lot longer than that. Okay, and with the SK05 Pro, you know, the great thing, the huge advantage with that is that it's obviously got these hot swappable batteries if these eventually stop working, which I think they last, from what I've done, the research I've done, about 300 to 600 full cycles. Okay, you can probably extend that out a bit more if you only charge them to 80% and discharge to like about 30%. But, you know, if anything goes wrong, you can replace them. This light will continue going and going. So, yeah, if you want a better long-term option, I suppose the SK05 Pro is probably the one for you. You know, likelihood is, you know, after about 4 or 5 years of using this light, it's probably going to be a new one out there that you want to get anyway. Another difference is the LED system. So in the EDC37, these flood LEDs cannot be activated in isolation. So if you look down the head, you've got that central, you know, circular LED for the spot and all these smaller LEDs around. So those will only activate, the ones around the edges will only activate in the lumen-shield mode. Okay, otherwise, when you turn it on, it only actually, it's difficult to see here on camera, it only activates the center LED. Okay, and I wonder if they did that just because they produce way too much heat, given, you know, the small surface that they're mounted to, the heatsink that the LEDs are mounted to. So, yeah, whereas with the SK05, you can activate the flood and the throw separately. In terms of UI, you've got more of a tactical UI versus a general UI. I think the EDC37 is easier to use. The SK05 Pro has a larger learning curve, especially with the auxiliary functions. You've got to memorize and, yeah, learn basically how to get into each mode there. But the EDC37, it also has the ability to reprogram the lower switch. So this switch here, so I can kind of press that down and then press the other switch, and then there we go. So then half press will be for strobe and full press for 8,000. Depending on what you want, I can switch it back to 3,000, that kind of thing. I don't really use strobe that much, but yeah, the ease of just changing and programming those modes is cool. You can't do that on the SK05 Pro. I mean, given you can only choose between a few different modes, I still think it's cool. You can customize it depending on your particular use. In terms of performance, the Nitecore EDC37 is brighter in the beginning anyway, but the SK05 Pro can sustain turbo output for a lot longer. I mean, given that it's, you know, half the output of the EDC37, okay, but it does step down after 30 seconds. And in order to activate that turbo mode, you just have to basically press and hold on either the flood or the throw mode here to activate both. Okay, but after it steps down when you hold that button down for 30 seconds, you can release and press down again to reactivate that high mode. Whereas with the EDC37, you need to wait until this like power bar here, and you can see it just deplete, power remaining. It's just really bright. It depletes. Okay, and how many seconds that was? Maybe like 8 seconds or something. And, you know, it just sort of stalls for a bit. But if you try to reactivate it, nothing happens. You can go into these other modes. Let's have a look. You get to 1500 lumen mode, okay? But otherwise, you do have to wait for that bar to recharge for it to start working again, which can take up to a minute. The advantage of the SK05 Pro is that it's a bit larger. It's made of aluminium as well, rather than steel. So you've got better heat sinking, a larger heat sink as well. Plus, it's not producing as much output, so yeah, it's going to dissipate that heat better, and you're going to have sustained output on that highest mode. So overall, I would get the EDC37 if you want a tactical style interface, something that could even work for self-defense, meaning one-step access to strobe, spot, that 8,000 lumen-shield mode. Plus, you got quick access to those lower modes as well through that lower switch. You know, I really like how it's got that crazy 8,000 plus lumen mode, even though it lasts for a few seconds. Otherwise, if you don't need that, the SK05 Pro is a better all-rounder, offering flood, throw, RGB modes, replaceable batteries. But just keep in mind the UI is more fiddly due to the multiple functions. Personally, I tend to carry around the Nitecore EDC37 more just because it's smaller and it has that self-defense capability and, you know, access to that highest mode. The EDC37 wasn't designed to basically hold that 8,000 lumen mode for very long. It's just for short bursts, maybe to use in an emergency, to spot something. Okay, so I just tend to use this one a lot more. But, you know, if I was going camping, if I was going on a longer trip, I needed those extra functions, I would definitely take the SK05 Helm Pro with me over the EDC37. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Which one do you think is better? You know, maybe not better, but which one would you rather have? And yeah, what would you use it for? And if you have questions, let me know as well in the comments. I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, click the like button and share it with someone who might be interested. It helps me to get my video out to more people. And if you want to see more flashlight reviews, keep up to date with the latest flashlight news, make sure you subscribe. Nitecore EDC37 to the left, and on the right I have the Loop SK05 Pro. So this is the EDC37, and as you can see here, the Loop SK05 Pro, and the Nitecore has already stepped down. Okay, still going strong with the Loop SK05 Pro. I mean, given that I, you know, did give the EDC37 a bit of a head start, but you can see it's still going. It steps down around the 30-second mark, but you can continue to reactivate. Okay, at the moment the EDC37 is just charging up again. We can reactivate it like quickly. Now, I did hold down the button, and I think that stops it from actually replenishing faster on the EDC37, but generally speaking you get about 5 to 8 seconds maximum before it steps down. And here you can see with the SK05 Pro it has stepped down. Okay, you've got flood plus throw on the step down, so it's still reasonably bright, but you can reactivate again quite easily like this. Just lift off and you get another 30 seconds. I'm not quite sure if it's timed or not, but definitely get a decent sort of runtime. Now you can also go into the other modes, like at the moment, let's see, it popped into just the flood mode, so low, medium, high, low, medium, high, double press, it's a turbo flood, and I'll pop it into just the spot mode now. That's your turbo spot. Same 30-second step down, but if you go into just the normal high spot here, this is sustainable. Okay, so my EDC37 has charged up already, so let's try this next to each other again. Okay, EDC37, SK05 Pro, EDC37. Overall brighter, of course, but quick step down. I'll just again take my finger off the button so it starts replenishing faster. It's actually not replenishing. Just got to wait for it to really cool down. But as you can see, the SK05 Pro is still going strong. EDC37 on the highest mode and SK05 on the highest mode. Okay, so that's the EDC37, and that's your SK05, EDC37, SK05, EDC37. Okay, there's the step down. And what I'm going to do, hopefully if no one starts walking up across here, is I'm just going to continue holding down on the SK05 Pro, okay, until it completely steps down. It should happen quite quickly around the 30 or so second mark, and meanwhile my EDC37 is just recharging, but I can stick the EDC37 into 1500 lumen mode
Okay, so here is the step down. If we go on the step down, okay, and I can just compare it with my EDC37. This is EDC37 on the 1500 lumen mode. Okay, and then the SK05 Pro after step down from flood plus throw. So the EDC37 is actually like a bit brighter. Okay, but you get a couple of minutes, I believe. Check the test that I ran on either review. Okay, it's kind of similar now actually. Seems okay. Still, it's a little bit brighter. The flood seems a bit brighter. But the throw is better on the SK05 Pro. But you can see, I mean, you know, you do get a lot more sustained output on the SK05 Pro. Wait for this thing to replenish. Let's give this one more try. Maybe just on the search mode, and I'll put this SK05 onto the spot mode turbo. So that's your turbo spot mode, and that's your search mode here in the EDC37. So turbo on the SK05 and the search mode there in the EDC37. Like, the SK05 still has a bit of an advantage, and see here I keep trying to reactivate the search mode again and it will not reactivate. Okay, we can just reactivate turbo constantly for the SK05.